Okay, here we go. This is for Algebra 1. This is 2.2, adding and subtracting real numbers. Last video we looked at adding real numbers. This one we're going to look at subtracting. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in here. All right, so we've got 3 minus 5. Okay, so you could certainly just type this into your calculator, get the right answer, but I just want to show you guys here with the number line. 1, 2, 3. If I start with 3, and then I subtract 5. So I'm going to be going backwards or to the left because I'm subtracting. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and that will put us at negative 2. All right. So sometimes this is helpful to see on a number line. All right, now this should definitely be avoided when you get back-to-back negatives, or back-to-back signs in general should be avoided, but it definitely comes into as a problem when they're back-to-back negative signs. So when you do see this, this integer should be written in parentheses, okay? And really what we should recognize is that um, we want to change this sign and then change all the signs in between. Okay, so subtracting a negative, how we see it right here, subtracting a negative is the same as adding a positive. Okay, so you can think about this two different ways. We're just going to change the signs, or you can think about this as like -1, and then you distribute it, and -1 times -5 becomes +5, so then you're just left with 3 plus 5. Okay? But again, if you typed this in your calculator, I'm going to do that right now. I I would never type in these back-to-back negatives, but if you do, you did. If you type in 3 minus -5, you will get the right answer, which is +8, right? One distinction I do want to mention, on your calculator, there is the subtraction key, which is right in between the multiplication and the addition key on the farthest column over. But down by the enter key, to the left of that enter key is it's like a minus in parentheses. If you want to write a negative number, you should use that key. Okay. All right, moving on. We have -3 minus 5. Okay, so this is just going to be like, again, two different debts. You have if you owe somebody $3 and another person $5, you're in debt $8, and you can write that as a negative. Okay? I think the difference here between these two is this is kind of looking at combining two negative numbers, whereas this one over here is 3 minus 5. It's the same thing, okay? So this is 3 minus 5, again, -8. All right, moving on. So we got rational numbers here. So anytime you see these back-to-back negatives, or anytime you see a negative or the subtraction symbol to the left of the parentheses like this, what you should do is just change this to a positive and then change all the signs to the opposite inside. So if it's negative, you change it to a positive. If you had a +2 in there, you would change this to positive and then change this to a negative. Okay, so think about it as just you're going to add the opposite. Okay, so you do this and you should get 15.9. All right. All right, we've got some fractions here. You could certainly just type this into your calculator, but we have common denominators, so this should be pretty simple for us. This will just be -2 minus 4, which is -6, and we're going to keep the same denominator of 9. All right, and then we should reduce this, and we would get -2/3. Okay? All right, let's see, one more. Let's add one in here. Oops. Let's add about -3/8. How about -2/3? Okay, so if we have something like this, what we could think about this as changing this to a positive and making this a negative. All right. And why don't we do this one longhand? So we need to change these both to they need to have the same denominator. They need common denominators. And I always say when you're doing addition and subtraction of fractions, you should write them vertically. It kind of helps out. And I'm going to do plus a negative 2/3. So you try to find the least common multiple of 8 and 3, which is 24. So what do I have to multiply 8 by? I have to multiply by 3. So I get 24 on the bottom, and I get 9 on top. And it looks like here I need to multiply both of these by 8. So we get 24 and 16. And remember, these are both negative. So we can just add these together. 9 plus 16 is 25. So we're left with 25 over 24. And they're both negatives, so the answer is going to be negative. All right. We could also write this as an improper fraction, or as a mixed number, which would be, how many times is 24 given to 25? 1 time with 1 left over. So it would be -1 and 1/24. Okay. All right, moving on here. So again, we can go ahead and let's just type these in our calculators. We could certainly turn this into an improper fraction like we did an improper fraction like we did last time. Multiply these two and then add the numerator, which would be 2 times 4 is 8 plus 3 is 11 over 4. And then we would subtract 4 and we would get -5 over 4, or as a mixed number we get -1 and 1/4. Okay, but again, just make sure we're using our calculators. You might as well use your resources if you got them. All right, this one here, remember these absolute value bars are grouping symbols, right? And so GEMDAS would tell us we need to do this first before we do anything else. So I need to simplify inside here first. Okay, and I have these back-to-back negatives. So I'm going to change this to a positive, change that to a positive as well. Now I get 17 in the absolute value bars. And what is the absolute value of 17? It is 17. It's positive. It's always positive. Okay? All right. Also, this square root symbol, or this radicand, is a grouping symbol. So I need to simplify in here first. 39 minus 30 is 9. And what is the square root of 9? Or what number times itself equals 9? Well, that would equal 3. Okay, again, you can use your calculator for that. Hit the second key and then the x squared button, you'll get your square root symbol. Okay. Commutative property and associative property of subtraction. Does that work for subtraction? So like we were mentioning, does the order matter? Order did not matter for addition. Does it matter for subtraction? I think we used 2 and 5 last time. So 2 minus 5, that is -3. But if we switch the numbers around, what does 5 minus 2? Oh, that equals +3. So -3 is not equal to +3. So no, this does not apply. It only applies to addition, not to subtraction. Does associative property work? So last time I think we used 2 minus 4 minus 3. And we'll do the same thing. 2 minus 4 minus 3. These two were in parentheses. And then we had these two in parentheses. So let's see what we get. 2 minus 4. 2 minus 4 would be -2. Minus 3 would be -6. Let's see what we get here. 4 minus 3 is 1. 2 minus 1. No, this is not going to work. -6 does not equal 1. So no, associative property and commutative property do not apply to subtraction, only addition. All right, what about rational numbers? So let's see. two rational numbers together will always make another rational number. So two rationals together will make another rational number. What about an irrational and a rational? Well, let's see. I would just type this into my calculator. I'm going to do that right now. I get, let's see, 3.732050808 dot dot dot. Okay, so this is non-terminating. So this is irrational. All right, so a rational plus an irrational will always yield you an irrational number. And what about irrational plus irrational? So I think I have this one example here. This is going to equal an irrational number. This is not super important. We're not going to use this much. But it is possible if we had 1 plus pi and we were also trying to add up a negative pi, these would cancel out and I'd be left with a rational number. So basically the answer here is it's either, but not super important for this unit. But I just wanted you to know that it could happen. All right. So that is it for this week. So go ahead and tackle these practice problems. And I will make a video going through some of these practice problems. Pay particular attention to these problems like 19 and 20. Okay, that's usually where students struggle on this test. Usually the ones that we can just type in our calculator, students do really well with. We can't really type in, your calculator does not have absolute value bars, so that you're going to have to just simplify this on your own. Okay?